DJ, who we are delay, had made a comment this week that he is not going to ACC Kickoff because, and I thought this was a classy move by him, says that Florida State obviously won a championship last year, and some of those players that earned the championship should be the ones going to ACC Kickoff. He's been there twice with Clemson. No reason for him to show up. And as of just a few minutes ago, they had yet to announce who was going for all the teams.
Yeah, man, you don't get any classier than that post. It really, I don't know if you'd call it viral, but it definitely in the college football world, that thing, it really traveled. A lot of people appreciated that. It just goes to show the leader that he is, and it shows the ability to be able to come in as a transfer, as a 1 year. That's the most you're going to get to come in and win over his teammates, and all the reports you've heard of kind of how high his character. That just goes to show that. Play devil's advocate. Maybe he just didn't want to deal with the BS questions and everything else.
He's done it twice.
And he's got the best PR agent in the world. Regardless, that's all part of being QB1. And we've had quarterbacks in the past that were a little bit more immature and, would jump up on a table and scream a popular meme and stuff like that. So we've seen both the sides of the coin at FSU. So really appreciate it, and just get more and more excited about DJU the closer and closer we get to the season. I imagine Patrick Payton will probably be one of those guys to go for us. Maybe a Darius Washington, something like that. There's some seniors that have been on this team from the very beginning of the climb and even before that deserve to go out there. So very classy move by DJU, and I'm glad he doesn't have to listen to the BS from any media that might sneak in there.
I know we went through the EA Sports, the EA 25 rankings. Did we go through Phil Steele's? I wanted to get your take on. Did we do that last week?
We talked about it. We flipped through the magazine.
Oh, I think we went through the offense. We went through the offense. Yeah, we went through the offense. Let me hit you with the defense.
Hit me with them.
All right. So he ranks a zillion teams. He goes up to 70.
Of all the people, and you get really caught up, and James hit on it, not to brag, but I don't care who you are, some of the best national reporters in the nation can't report on Florida State as good as I can, just because that's what I do 24/7. Phil Steele, of all the people, to cover all 133 FBS teams or whatever it is, he does an amazing job of getting on the phone, really spending whether it's 12 hours each team, 6 hours each team, whatever the case may be. So whether or not I disagree with any of these, don't take it as hate. Phil Steele been around forever, and that book is really a college football addict's dream. Sorry to interrupt you there.
And folks, be tuned in to the notifications over on the main channel. We will have Phil Steele on here in the next couple of weeks. Don't have any time pinned down yet, but we will have him on. He has promised me. Okay. So here we go to the defensive line. Just to put it in perspective, top 5 in the nation: Ohio State, Penn State, Utah, Michigan, Nebraska. Elsewhere in the ACC, Miami 12, Florida State 15. 15 in the nation defensive line.
It's hard because we don't have a ton of returning production. There's quite a bit of upside with guys like Gerald Jackson, who didn't play last year, Marvin Jones Jr., a situation like a guy like Jermaine Johnson. He only came in here with a handful of sacks that ended up being a first round pick. You could have a similar situation there. So no, 15th, not too much of a complaint. I think by the end of the year, Florida State will have a top 10 defensive line, but there's quite a bit of projection and evaluation. One of those things that comes from being a Florida State person that watches it and has been watching it with a fine-tooth comb over the past couple of years. It could be wrong. Maybe the streak runs out, but when you look at the evolution of the guys they brought in the offseason, this class of defensive linemen looks like it could be the best one yet.
Linebacker, top 5 in the nation. Iowa number 1, Oklahoma 2, Georgia 3, Texas 4, Oklahoma State 5. Clemson from the ACC at 8, SMU at 10. Then we've got Miami at 15. We have Virginia Tech at 28. We have Florida State at 40.
Florida State at 40. Well, we run a 4-2-5, so like linebacker isn't our thing. There's a whole position or two that doesn't even exist that a lot of those teams have. The two linebackers that we do have on the field, we've got DJ Lundy coming back, and that second spot is kind of up for grabs there. Cam Riley, an early favorite from Auburn to fill that spot. 40's tough. We'll see how it goes. But again, when you're somebody that has to look through all these different teams, I guess it's fair.
Defensive back. Ohio State, number 1, Oklahoma 2, Georgia 3, Clemson 4, Iowa 5, Notre Dame 6, Florida State 7.
I'd probably flop us in Clemson, if I'm being honest. But I was going to be pissed. We were going to have problems if Florida State wasn't in the top 10 on this one. But we'll see. I think Clemson losing Nate Wiggins and Florida State having Azaria Thomas and bringing in the star-studded class they brought in this past year. I think you're going to see DBU start to rise up over that Clemson squad, who's kind of taken over the past 7, 8, 9 years, whatever it is, since Florida State went down in the tube. So we'll see there. I think Florida State gets back in the top 5 with DB unit by the end of the year.
Special teams, which on one hand I would think would be extremely difficult to evaluate because it's kind of it's a turnstile when it comes to coverage units and return units, because usually unless you're a program player, you're a special teams guy one year and you shouldn't be on special teams the next year. However, punters and kickers are pretty easy to evaluate. Their stats are pretty accurate. If the guys that kick the field goals, all you have to do is look at the percentage and the distance, and it tells you pretty much what you need to know. Same thing with the punter to a certain degree. So if those guys are coming back, then you've got something to go on. Bama 1, Texas 2, Georgia 3, Auburn 4, Michigan 5, Florida State 13.
I'd put us in the top 10 on that one. I'm imagining when he's looking at special team, he's looking at recruiting rankings, especially going over kind of the top 3 there to go to your notion of how talented is your freshman and sophomore class. That's going to tell you a lot about how talented your special teams are, because you're not going to have your starting this, starting that, and on special teams. But that's something that sets Mike Norvell apart. That doesn't even cross his mind. Like, if there's a guy with an injured ankle or something, obviously that's limited. You're not going to have him back there. But you will see game changers back there at the punt return, at the kick return, at gunner and things of that nature. And special teams, they've been great. They've been great since he's been here. They had the one issue with kicker. There was that 2022 when Fitzgerald decided to go from a 2-step drop to a 3-step drop, or a 3-step drop to a 2-step drop. Got that fixed by the end of that year. Last year was great. Didn't do a ton of field goal kicking, but I believe had a pretty good over 75%, if I'm not mistaken. So I expect that special teams unit again to be in the top 10, as Florida State is far and away the most just raw talent when you look at, freshman, sophomore, blue chip percentage and all those things. So also adding Jalen Lucas to handle those kick returns and punt returns possibly. Look for Florida State special teams to be a difference maker this year. We've always been good at blocking punts and things like that as well.